Deep in the heart of the forsaken woods, where moonlight seldom penetrated the dense canopy, lay a village that time appeared to have forgotten. The villagers spoke in hushed tones of the unnatural occurrences that plagued their nights, of whispers carried by the wind and shadows that danced just beyond the reach of their lanterns. Lena had grown up in Hillcroft, but she had never believed the tales spun by the elders. They spoke of the veil, a thin barrier between their world and one of chaos and despair, populated by entities that reveled in human fear. Mistrustful of the dark after one too many ghost stories, she often preferred the company of her books, losing herself in fantastical tales that she always rationalized were mere fiction, until that fateful night when the veil between the worlds grew thin. The autumn moon hung low and full, its glow a silvery beacon, casting eerie shadows that twisted and wriggled in the underbrush. Lena had wandered too far from home while gathering herbs under the twilight sky, distracted by butterflies that flitted among the crisp leaves. When she noticed how dark it had gotten, she felt a knot of unease tighten in her stomach. The forest, once lively with the sounds of nocturnal creatures, fell silent. As she hurried back, footsteps echoed around her, not the scuttling of creatures, but something far heavier, like a heartbeat. Lena glanced back, heart racing. The trees seemed to lean in, shadows stretching towards her, whispering secrets in a language she couldn't understand. They beckoned her deeper, the shadows twisting into forms that morphed with her fears. With each hurried step, the path she followed began to warp, splitting into forks that led further away from familiarity. Then came the voices, soft and enticing, wrapped in silken tones. "Stay with us, Lena," they cooed, "join us in the laughter of the twilight." She recognized them. They were the voices of long-lost friends, children who had disappeared over the years without a trace. A shiver ran down her spine, but curiosity pushed her forward, a spellbinding force compelling her to step off the path into the thick undergrowth. Before she knew it, she found herself in a clearing she had never seen before, where the air shimmered like a summer haze. At the center stood a tall figure draped in twilight shadows, its features obscured. "Lena," it said, the sound like an echo of distant chimes. "We have been waiting for you." Quote, her heart thundered as a dozen other forms began to coalesce around the figure, their bodies flickering like candle flames. They possessed an ethereal quality, their skin glinting as if dusted with stardust. The beauty in their appearances was unnerving. They smiled, though their teeth were far too sharp. "You seek companionship, do you not?" the figure said again. "We offer it. We can show you wonders beyond your wildest dreams." Quote, fascinated, Lena hesitated, taking a step closer. A swirling miasma of emotion rose within her, fear, intrigue, and a twisted sense of belonging. She longed to escape the mundane world that so often felt like a cage. Aye, she started, but before she could finish, the lead figure reached out a hand, inviting her into the otherworldly throng. As she extended her hand, a deep instinctual voice screamed within her, "Run!" Panic coursed through her system, anchoring her feet to the earth. The entities laughed, a bubbling sound that rang with both joy and malevolence. "Join us, Lena. Forget the past. Stay forever," they taunted. Suddenly, the ground shifted beneath her, cracking and erupting with wild roots and vines that snaked towards her, desperate to pull her into their fold. The goofy whispers morphed into hisses that pierced through the thickening air. "You are ours. The veil is thin, and the night belongs to us." In that moment, clarity washed over her, and Lena turned on her heel, sprinting back through the forest, the muffled cries of the entities hot on her heels. The path, which twisted and turned, eventually led her back to the familiar trail. She ran until she stumbled into the soft embrace of dawn, light piercing through the dense foliage, and the sinister shadows receded into the dew-drenched undergrowth. But Hillcroft was not as she had left it. The village lay in shambles, an eerie silence blanketing the once bustling homes. Panic clawed at her throat, clutching her, and she shouted for her friends, for anyone. A chill swept through as she remembered the faces of those who had vanished. Had the whispers beckoned them too? Were they lost in that abyss of supernatural dread, mingling with the otherworldly entities from which she had escaped, while she stood as a living witness? As she gazed into the forest that now seemed to close around her home, a realization dawned on her: the veil would never fully lift. The otherworldly, ever hungry, waited just beyond the trees, for fear was a delicious prize. The entities would always wait, seeking new lost souls, and somewhere deep within her, she sensed they were not finished with her yet. The laughter still echoed in the wind. And she suspected it always would.